What's up, everybody? It's been a long time since I've done one here on YouTube, but this is Big Kev from Big Kev's World coming at you with another video. I want to show some thank you to some people who have liked and have subbed here recently when I was doing some of these short videos. With the Negan and Vince McMahon and the Negan and Joe Biden and having The Rock come on there and say that the new world heavyweight title is the biggest piece of dog shit. Well, here's the thing. The title is what it is. Could anyone else in the 80s have ran the WWE, WWF ball like Hulk Hogan? And the reason why I'm saying that, because as you can see, I am the founder of making young wrestling fans cry. And the reason why is they don't seem to understand or get the history and the tradition of professional wrestling sports entertainment. That's just in my opinion, they don't. And what we're dealing with is on TikTok, I decided to dip my little toes in there. And I pretty much said that Stone Cold Steve Austin nor John Cena was the GOAT. I said Hulk Hogan was. And oh my God, the list of backlash that I got just for, having an opinion, because that's what this world is. The world is that you can have an opinion, whether it's right or wrong. An opinion is just that. It's like an asshole. Everyone's got one. And to be honest with you, I look at it like this, and I pretty much said in one of the comments to one of the people that if it wasn't for Hulk Hogan and WWF putting the ball on him, professional wrestling wouldn't be where it is today. And there are some friends of mine who don't like Hulk Hogan, and there's some people that don't like Hogan, and that's perfectly okay. I never wanted anybody to personally like the guy. I'm just stating a fact. And any of them can pretty much, you can't deny it. What he brought to wrestling is better than beyond the magic, because his first run in the WWF, everyone knows he was a heel. And then he got that offer from Sylvester Stallone to do Rocky III. And Vince Sr. was telling him, look, you're a wrestler, not an actor. You can't go do this. Well, he decided that if you're going to go do it, you won't work here anymore. So Hogan decides to go make a name for himself, becomes Thunder Lips, and becomes very popular from the Rocky series, goes to AWA with the Gagnes. And Hulkamania was born there before it even hit WWF. And what's funny about the situation, though, is Vince McMahon buys the company from his dad, decides to do the exact opposite of what he told his dad he was going to do, because his dad cared about the territories and wanted to keep that tradition going. Vince McMahon, that we all know and hate today, he's the one who decided, you know what, I'm going to change the world. I want to be, syndicated. They wanted to be called part of cable television, the Rock and Wrestling. Who could he put on there? I mean, Bob Backlund's a great wrestler. Bob Backlund was a great champion. Do not get me wrong. But he knew that they needed someone who was red hot. And Hogan was red hot in AWA. Whether anybody wants to admit it or not, it is a fact. So, the call happens. Hulk goes to WWF. In January 1984, Hulkamania was born in WWF, and Hogan beats Iron Sheik and becomes the WWF champion. But see, Hogan was the first wrestler to ever be a part of Sports Illustrated. He was the first wrestler to ever have his cartoon. I mean, there's just a lot of mainstream things. And Vince put a lot of money, him and Linda put a lot of money. They almost went bankrupt trying to do WrestleMania, the first WrestleMania, because if that didn't succeed, we wouldn't be talking about a WWE WrestleMania 40 or 41. We wouldn't be talking about that. We would be I don't even think WWF would be in business right now. They wouldn't have made that merger with them and UFC, a part of that with that deal. I don't see it happening. But what they decided to do was Hulk was mainstream. Hulk was everywhere during that time. I mean, when wrestlers would go, there would be a B show and an A show and a house show. Anybody that wrestled with Hogan on the A show, whether you were wrestling him or on the card, you made more money. That's how it was then. Merchandise was starting to come out then. Wrestlers were starting to get cuts on the merchandise. They had the very first ever video game come out on the Nintendo. And I actually had that. Me and my brother had that game on the Nintendo. Everything started to change because professional wrestling with WWF became sports entertainment. And I look at a guy like, and it's funny because people were like, well, this one kid decided to come up and try to be like he knew more than I did, because that's just how this generation is. They actually act like they know more than what we do. But let me tell you something, boy. You don't know more than some of us who have eat, sleep, and breathe this shit. So let me give you a little bit of a history lesson to you. And yeah, I'm gonna probably post this on TikTok, and I'm gonna and this goes to this guy. And he knows exactly who he is. If there was anybody on the WWF roster in the 80s, I'm not talking about the Ultimate Warrior, because they tried that experiment and it didn't work. If there was only one guy on that entire WWF roster back in the day who I felt like could have ran with the ball and actually could have been popular, and it actually was popular, besides Hogan, was the Macho Man Randy Savage. I mean, Andre was a spectacle. He was the eighth wonder of the world. Roddy Piper was one of the best heels in the world. Yeah, you probably could have put the title on Piper, maybe. But who else did they really have at that time that could have ran with the ball and done exactly what Hogan did for that company? You tell me who. I would like to know everybody's comments on this, because this is actually a good topic about it, because I honestly believe Macho Man could have. This is, and it's an interesting topic, because I told the guy, I was like, look, the only person I think will feel like is Macho Man. And I told him, look, Hogan was popular before he went back to WWF. And he's like, I'm talking about current WWF. I was talking about WWF back then. And I'm like, listen, dude, let me just tell you this much. There would be no John Cena. There would be no Roman Reigns. I'll even throw one out. There'd be no Stone Cold Steve Austin if it wasn't for Hulk Hogan. Now, whether we like him personally and whether you like his wrestling skills, that is beyond the point of what I'm trying to make. And that's what I find funny too. When I made the TikTok video, I really wanted to see what would happen. So I was kind of like making them dance a little bit, making them be like a little puppeteers that they are. And because I knew that because I was a puppeteer, they were the puppets, and I knew they were going to dance on the comment. But all they kept saying was, you're wrong. You're wrong. You're wrong. Hogan's a racist. You're wrong. And I'm like, what does that have to do with him being the GOAT? What did that have anything to do with him doing anything in the ring? I'm talking about in-ring action. Then this guy responded back by saying, you're probably one of those people who gave a shit about Chris Benoit too. And I'm like, see, that's what I'm saying. In this world of professional wrestling, the reason why there's so many of us that are against each other, we like fight over the stupidest crap. And it's like, look, it's an opinion. Like Like I know Big Rim, his favorite wrestler of all time is Sting. You know, everybody likes Sting. Sting's a good guy, and Sting's one of the best wrestlers ever to ever lace up a pair of boots. In my opinion, he's one of the best. However, just because I say that the Undertaker might be my favorite or Hogan might be my favorite doesn't mean that Remington's opinion is even less than mine. I was just using that as an example. So big out to you, Rem, on that one. I'm just using that as an example. So there's just so many. It's like different eras of wrestling, like different eras of basketball. Because you got the younger generation who thinks that LeBron James is the greatest thing ever. But yet, when they watch the highlights of Michael Jeffrey Jordan, they watch the highlights of the Bulls, I'm looking at that like, how can you say LeBron's favorite? And that's how we look at it because Michael played in a different era. He played with stricter with NBA rules. LeBron, who likes to flip flop and go, ow, my arm hurt, would not even go with what he wouldn't even be able to do what Jordan did against those bad boy Detroit Piston teams and those big Boston Celtics teams in the 80s. No, he wouldn't have. And what that New York Knicks team in the 90s that was smash mouth coached by Pat Riley. There's just a lot of different obstacles in that situation. So when I hear someone say that, to me personally, I'm like, how can you say that someone's opinion is wrong? You can't. You cannot say that someone's opinion is wrong. And it's the biggest horse shit that I've ever heard in my life because just because I do a video saying that Hogan is the GOAT doesn't mean that you have to post a comment on there saying, hey, you're wrong. You're wrong. There's a word called an opinion. Learn it, love it, live it. Because you're making a fool of yourselves by even trying to debate someone who knows professional wrestling, who's 41 years old, who's pretty much followed it his entire life, whose family, both sides of his family, was involved in it. So don't sit there and try to be cute with your little comments and say, yeah, he's a racist. Because let me just tell you this much. Even though people might have their feelings about Chris Benoit and the fact that some people believe that he murdered his family, some people believe, which I'm one of those people with Poston and with Dark Horse, that I feel like he was framed. And I feel like someone else murdered him and made him watch and all that. But besides the point of that, what I'm trying to make with it is, even though you may think Chris Benoit is a dirtbag, you can't deny the fact that he was one of the best technical wrestlers to ever lace up a pair of boots, next to Kurt Angle and Bret Hart and Owen Hart, to name a few. So that's what I'm trying to say. And that's what I was trying to tell this guy when this kid was like, he's a hoax, a racist. What does him being a racist have anything to do with the contribution that he gave to this business? A man who's had like 11 back surgeries, who could barely fucking walk. And back in the day, when they used to go on house shows, they would go 2 shows a night. They didn't miss time to go, like, oh my God, I had to miss time to go film my teeth, or I had to miss time because my tummy hurts. They actually went out there and busted their ass while they were still injured. Look at a guy like Ric Flair. In 1975, Ric Flair got into a plane crash that could have killed him, and it fucked up his back. But look at the career that Ric Flair has had. Non-stop. And that's how the older guys looked at it. They were non-stop. They kept going. They kept going. And maybe that was a mistake of their part. Who knows? I don't know. But at the same time, you can't sit there and just be like, now you got the younger people who think Roman Reigns is the greatest thing ever. Well, let me tell you something. You can't sit there and say that Roman Reigns is in that GOAT category. Yeah, he's held on to the belt for 970 something days. But let's face it, he's also got a part time contract. Yes, a part time contract. So when people say Roman Reigns is the best, I'm sitting there like, I will say this: Roman Reigns is better than majority of the people on AEW. I'll say that. I mean, it's the same thing. It's like we can all agree to disagree. That's how I look at it. Why can't we just agree to disagree? Back in the '80s, Hulk Hogan and Macho Man were my two favorites. It was, yeah, and that's how I've always looked at it. Um, in the '90s, yeah, I grew to love the Undertaker. Watching the Undertaker come out for the first time with Butter Love and Survivor Series, and then watching him come out with eventually with Paul Bearer, and just how he morphed his character during the Attitude Era, and then the whole ruthless aggression era, and this there's all different eras of wrestling. The Golden Era, there's the non-steroid era. Now, let me tell you something. When they finally decided to get rid of some of these guys, and Hogan left WWF again in '93, they decided to put the belt on Bret Hart. Bret Hart, in all intents and purposes, was one of the greatest wrestlers of all time. Technically, one of. He wore that belt with honor, but Bret also felt like he was bigger than what he was. And as much as I love Shawn Michaels, and Shawn Michaels to me is one of the greatest performers to ever lace up a pair of boots. And my buddy Rob's a big fan of Shawn Michaels. I love Shawn Michaels, don't get me wrong. But look at the ratings WWF had during the new generation. The guys like Kevin Nash, aka Diesel, Shawn Michaels, Bret Hart holding the title. Look at what they had to, and they were having, and at that time they started having their first ever television show, WWF Raw, WWE Raw. The ratings and the house shows, the attendance was all down. The pay per view buy rates were down. It wasn't until a certain Stone Cold Steve Austin come into the mix with The Rock that completely changed the game for WWF during the whole Monday Night Wars. So when I see someone say all this bad shit about my opinion over who the GOAT was, first of all, you fell for what I was wanting you to do in the first place, which is number one. Number two is John Cena might have the most make a wish in any person in sports. That has been given. John Cena is a 16-time world champion. His credentials are high, and I'm not going to deny that it's not. But there's a reason why WWF and WWE at the time and now have called Hulk Hogan the Babe Ruth of wrestling. There's a reason for it. Whether you like him or not, you got to give the devil where devils do. That's the type of person I am. I'm going to give you credit where credit's due. Despite if you're a piece of shit in real life, despite if you were holding people back or whatever the case may be, that's not the point. Now that might be your point for the reason why you may not like the person, and that's perfectly natural. It's perfectly okay because that's your opinion. But don't sit there and attack other people because they have an opinion that's different than yours. Because that's when you're going to attack the wrong person. And that wrong person is going to school you like you're a piece of chump. And that's exactly what's been going on TikTok. I've been schooling those little fuckers like they're nothing, like there's no tomorrow. I'm gonna get a screenshot of it eventually. Let's see who this comment right here. What's up, Daniel Bryan? Is it Daniel? No, Barry Sports Highlights. Hey, what's up, man? Welcome to the show. Thank you for commenting. I appreciate it. No, but it's the same thing with baseball. Like if you look at it, people will say, "Hey, Babe Ruth was the greatest baseball player ever lived," and some people say, "No, this guy is and that guy is." Unless they have all played in the same generation, we all can't really say that. It's just an opinion, you know, and it's an opinion where I feel like a lot of this hate comes from wrestling fans in particular because they all feel like they can't never be happy about anything. They wanted Vince gone and they wanted someone else to be in charge. So Triple H becomes in charge of creative. So then Triple H decides to do certain things that are like, yay! And then they're like, well, why didn't he put Cody Rhodes as champion? I'm tired of Roman Reigns being champion all the time now. See, that's what I'm saying. They love Roman Reigns and then they start to turn on him. You love him, then you turn on him. Because most of these wrestling fans probably got ADHD. They probably got the attention span of a gnat. And that's the problem. Is Triple H is thinking long-term booking. These people are like, we want a new champion now. Why wasn't Cody Rhodes champion? Well, let me tell you why Cody Rhodes wasn't champion. Because Cody Rhodes left WWE, made a name for himself, became a VP of another company, put that company on the map, helped put that company on the map, which is AEW Wrestling. Leaves that company, comes back to WWE, has a very good 3 matches with Seth Rollins, has a gutsy performance when he tore his pectoral muscle. But see, that's the thing. Cody Rhodes hasn't, and Stone Cold has said it, Bully Ray has said it, Road Dogg has said it, all the greats have said it. Cody Rhodes hasn't suffered. He hasn't chased it. He hasn't earned it. And yeah, winning the Rumble's great. And yeah, beating Brock Lesnar was great, but you have to, it's better to chase than to become a champ. Because once you become champ, everything, whatever sport it is, whether it's the NFL, NHL, whether it's baseball, whether it's basketball, once you become champion of a sport, no matter what it is, you are now the hunted. You're not the hunter no more. You are now the hunted. And that's the problem with, I think, younger sports fans now is that they can't have their attention span. Some of them will sit there and probably tell you, hey, Tom Brady's the greatest of all time. And there's argument with that because Brady has won 7 rings. But a lot of us who grew up in the NFL, we would tell you Joe Montana was. We would tell you John Elway was. We could easily say Dan Marino was. Some people could say Troy Aikman was. There's just so many different opinions out there, but it's like if you have an opinion that's different than someone else, they have to fight you on it. And it's like, wow, is that what you do? You go online and make a comment to just, I mean, you must feel really proud of yourself, first of all, because that's just nature of the beast, I guess you want to say, in this day and age now. You got a little bunch of keyboard warriors and who think they know more than what they actually claim that they know. And it's, back in the day that used to bug me, but now I find that fucking hilarious. It's funny. It really is. I mean, that's like telling someone, hey, I'm a Titans fan. So I grew up liking the Titans. But someone could tell me, hey, I think Earl Campbell was the greatest running back. No, I think Chris Johnson was. No, I think Eddie George was. No, I think Derrick Henry was. They all played in different eras. So every one of those guys I mentioned were successful at running the football. And were successful with the Oilers / Titans. I mean, I can't deny that. But there's just some times where people make their picks, and that's what it is. It's just a pick. It's an opinion. It's something that those AEW wrestling fans don't seem to kind of understand because they get so messed up about it. Let me tell you something. A guy like Hulk Hogan didn't do like 15, 16 Canadian destroyers to get over. And he didn't pin somebody by hitting someone with a foot. I mean, like with a knee. He didn't pin somebody with a knee to the face. Yeah, he had the big boot and the leg drop. But if you watch some of his New Japan wrestling matches, the ones he had with Great Buddha and a few others, you can actually see that Hogan can actually wrestle. It was the style of WWE and style of WWF that he was doing. But he could actually go. And then he reinvented himself in 96 and became Hollywood Hogan with the NWO. Let me tell you something. The NWO wouldn't have been as popular as a stable if they would have went with Sting instead. As much as I love Sting, it wouldn't have worked. Even if they would have brought Shawn with them, even if they would have brought Bret Hart with them, Undertaker with them, the NWO would have been somewhat successful, but it wouldn't have been at the star power it was with Hogan. And Nash has admitted that. Scott Hall, God rest his soul, has admitted that. So for anybody to go out there and say what they want to say about Hogan, you know, yeah, some theories about him is true. Did he hold some people back? Absolutely. But it's also it's a political game back there. You want to hold on to your spot. I mean, you don't think Ric Flair didn't do it? All the greats have done it. Stone Cold's done it. John Cena's done it. Hell, Lord knows Triple H used to have the golden shovel back in 2002 and 3. We all know about the ruthless aggression Triple H with that big old shovel he had. But the biggest point of this whole entire thing is I want to know from everybody else, could anyone in the 80s, whether it's WWF, whether it was NWA or WCW or WCCW, even all the territories, if there was someone you think could have ran the WWF ball like Hulk Hogan did back in the 80s, I want to hear your opinion on that. I believe Macho Man could have. But I would love to know everyone else's comments down below. Or if you see me on Facebook, if you have me on Facebook, you can tell me your comment that way or anything like that. And remember, I'm not going to sit there and trash you for your opinion because that's just not who I am, because I look at it as opinion's an opinion. But I realized when I did the NBA GOAT thing on here with the LeBron and Kobe and Michael thing, man, did some LeBron fans get so butthurt over that. But let me tell you something. The reason why I said that about LeBron is because number one, he's walked out on his team more than once. He's a flopper. He complains about every little foul. He had to go and join super teams in order to win, and he couldn't even do that. But yet people want to say, well, Jordan had Scottie Pippen. I'm like, yeah. But the NBA was also a lot tougher back in the day. Michael Jordan didn't go, even though Michael Jordan was friends with Barkley and Patrick Ewing, Jordan didn't go join the Knicks to go win a championship. Ewing didn't go join Chicago to win a championship. Magic didn't join the Celtics to go win a championship with Larry Bird. No, they wanted to kill each other. It was competitive. That's the problem with the NBA now, is they all want to play with their friends. Like, I want to play with my friend. No. Because when I used to play football, when I used to play some schoolyard basketball with my friends, I would be on the opposite team because I wanted to kill them. I wanted to prove a point. And it's competitiveness. That's just how it is. It's not one of those things where you're like, oh my God, that's my friend. You know, if your friend happens to be on your team, that's great. But it's like when you play like people. I know some of y'all probably have played Madden tournaments. It's the same thing with like a video game tournament. When you go and play that Madden tournament, that person's no longer your friend at that point. At that point, that person's your enemy, and you're there to whoop that person's ass. Plain and simple. Now it's just a bunch of sissy-fied motherfuckers. The competitive juice is gone. That's my biggest thing. Competitive juices is gone now. It's it is what it is. But you cannot. All I can say is this much about Hogan: is he the greatest wrestler ever to lace up a pair of boots like pound for pound? No. Did he have one of the best charismas in wrestling? Absolutely. Was he marketable? Absolutely. Did he help put wrestling on the map? Absolutely. So I don't care if this butt hurts anybody with it. I really don't. But in my opinion, and it will stick to this day, it will stick to this way until the day I am dead. There is no one has put wrestling on the map more than Terry Bollea, aka Hulk Hogan. Wrestling was popular more in the 90s during the Attitude Era and the Monday Night Wars because we had such great talent on WCW and we had so much great talent on WWF. I mean, I have a bunch of VHS tapes that can prove that I watched both. Like I was recording on both. Like I can switch back over here. And WWF won the war. WWE won the war, obviously, which I still feel like WCW was, in my opinion, better. I mean, that's just my opinion on it because I miss WCW so fucking much. But at the same time, you got these fans out there who just they look for acrobatic wrestlers who can put on defy gravity and everything like that. Well, let me explain something to you. Gravity thing is great. People who can go out there and do these flips, absolutely athletic, absolutely amazing. But that doesn't make you a great wrestler just because you can do like 15 Canadian destroyers and do like a flying knee off the top rope. It's telling a story in the ring. It's basically telling a story with your body language. You and your partner both, you and your opponent are telling a story. When you go back and you watch WrestleMania 3 and Hogan's walking slowly up to Andre and they're staring at each other and 93,000 over there in that Pontiac Silverdome are going crazy, that's a story. When Triple H came out, no, when Undertaker came out before WrestleMania 27, and then Triple H came out right after them, and they didn't say a word. All they did was stare and looked at each other and looked at the sign of WrestleMania. That's telling a story. It's moments like that makes you want to be a wrestling fan. Those are the moments where you go, you get goosebumps from them. Hogan and Warrior having that stare down, how real WWF back in the 80s was, having that snake bite Macho Man. Macho Man still got a fever of 104 from that bite, even though that cobra was defanged. Wrestling back then was real. Like when you saw Undertaker put Warrior in that casket and they locked it up and you could actually hear it sealing and they were trying desperately to get him out of the thing. Those things as a kid still hit you in the back. It still hits you in the head with it. I mean, I remember that one time Earthquake came on the Brother Love show and squashed Hogan in the chest a bunch of times. And I thought Hogan was going to retire. They made it sound like he was going to retire. I didn't know back in the day that he was going to do a movie. That's what made wrestling so great was the mystique. The internet has ruined everything. Not only just for movies, but it's ruined wrestling. Because now you can go on the dirt sheets and find out what's going on. Now you can go look on YouTube and see what happened on Raw and SmackDown or on AEW or on Impact Wrestling. It's a bad situation. And I really wish though that we can all just agree to disagree and just move forward, because I feel like wrestling needs that from us. As wrestling fans, they need us to be on point with each other and not against each other just because one person likes another. I honestly do believe that. That's just my opinion on that. Doesn't mean I'm right with it. Doesn't mean I'm wrong. Just like anybody else's opinion is not right or wrong. Anyways, though, let me know in the comments below who you guys think could have ran that ball for WWF in the 80s like Hulk Hogan did. Who you think could have been on the cover of Sports Illustrated, or who could have been on had their own cartoon, or could have been on music videos and movies and such. And I'm not talking about now. I'm talking about in the 80s. Right now, I honestly believe that Piper and Macho Man probably could have been the main two that could. But let me know in your comments below what you guys think. And also, I want to say a rest in peace to one of the great superstar Billy Graham, who passed away this week, and also one of the best running backs in the game, Jim Brown. My condolences to his family and to superstar Billy Graham. Superstar Billy Graham also had a lot of effect and a lot of flaw about how Hogan approached things with the tie dye and the big old biceps and stuff like that. And so, anyways, I probably might post this video on TikTok, or I might try to find a way to say something on there about it, because there is a TikTok community with wrestling fans on there, and some of them, I'm not going to lie, are cool. Some of them are fucking idiotic. And the wrestling fans can never be happy. Let's clarify this. Say, for example, they would have got rid of the belt off of Roman Reigns, and Sami Zayn would have beaten him in Montreal. Yeah, the crowd would have went crazy. Everybody would have been like going bananas, ape shit crazy. But eventually, you would have found a way to turn on Sami Zayn, because that's what you do. You can never be fully satisfied. It's almost like being a vampire. It's like eating tofu, knowing you can't be totally satisfied. That's how wrestling fans can be, and it's sad. It really is a sad and a shameful thing. But post your comments down below. Everybody who has liked, share, and sub, I appreciate it. Much love to everybody. But this is Big Kev from Big Kev's World. I am out. Sayonara.